Unfortunately, what you're about to hear is real. The members of this radio program are simply not that bright, or what some people would call educated. They are merely stupid. They're not trying to offend anyone on purpose. And all have played doctors on TV. You have been warned and are cordially invited to join the party. This is the men's room.
Forget it, man, and get with the countdown. Get with the countdown. Shake this square world and blast off for Kicksville. The trippers, the grasshoppers, the hip ones, all gathered in secrecy and flying high as a kite.
This is the men's room with Miles and Thrill. You know what they say, shake your radio more than 3 times, and you're playing with it. You're listening to the men's room.
And away we go. Welcome to show number 2748. Along with Steve the Thrill Hill, the Ted Smith, Robin Fox, and my cock. And you are in the men's room. On tap today, the random question is back. Your guess is as good as mine. Categories, websites, and beer. The return of Ask the Men's Room. Get ready to play Profile This. Plus headlines, the Men's Room Shot of the Day, fun listener emails, and everyone's favorite, TV Time with Ted.
Click, clack, drinkity drunk.
All right, here we go. This is true. Procter & Gamble is now asking teens to not eat Tide Pods.
Teens?
Teens.
Damn.
Meanwhile, a plane in Turkey slides off the runway headed to the sea as passengers pray to the gods. Lawyer's grammatical error so bad that a judge sends him to school teacher to review the work. My terrible boss is submitting stories about how your boss is a complete and total jerk, and a car goes airborne in Orange County, ends up on the 2nd floor of a building. That is all coming on today's very special episode of The Men's Room.
And now, here's the question.
Hola, bitches. Good day to you and yours. All right. As technology improves and becomes more embedded in everyday life, there's always that fear that it's going to replace us, right? You have automated factories, self-driving cars, the self-checkout at the grocery store. Well, now, thanks to Germany, there's a brothel of nothing but sex dolls. That's right. There are no living prostitutes there, just the latex dolls for real men who don't want real women. And you can say what you want about it, but business has been brisk. And no matter what you think of these people, just keep in mind, this is not as sad as the Irish woman who no longer has any need for a real man. She says she has gone through men, she can't find an ideal mate, and that's why she just married the ghost of a Haitian pirate. And I said exactly what you think I said. Or at least she thinks that she married a Haitian pirate. The ghost of. She says that the ghost proposed to her after they've been dating for about 2 years. She said yes. She says they have a great relationship. And trust me when I tell you this much, her story only gets crazier. As she goes on and explains her relationship with the ghost, this is just scratching the surface of her lunacy. But according to her, she just couldn't find a man that she wanted to be with, so now she's with a ghost. And we're not sure how many men she dated before dating the ghost, but let's face it, dates can be bad. Aziz Ansari, who just won a Golden Globe for whatever the hell he won a Golden Globe for, he was just called out basically by a woman who went on one date with him. We'll save the details, but long story short, and I quote, "It was the worst night of my life." I'm not sure if she's going to date ghosts, but she's not going to date Aziz Ansari. But these are some of the stories we saw that led to many questions we'd like to ask you in the form of the random question. This is how it works. You call us, we will ask you a question at complete random. And after you share your riveting story with us, we will share with you the story that inspired said question.
Be part of the big show on the random question. Call 844-999-OLA. You can like the Men's Room on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter at Men's Room Live and send those emails to the Men's Room at mensroomlive.com. You are listening to the Men's Room Radio Network.
We return to the Men's Room with Miles and Thrill.
Hold the cellos and away we go. Welcome to show number 2748. What a larger charge program we have for you today. Guaranteed this is going to be a future repeat. This is going to be a monumental show.
So don't mention that today is MLK.
Right, sure. Coming up on the program, your guess is as good as mine. The categories, websites, and beer. The categories being the 10 beers that Americans are not drinking anymore. Fortunately, Men's Room Original Red is not on this list. That's the only reason we put it in there. Because if it was, we would never mention that. Fortunately, it's actually selling very well. And every time you pick up a Men's Room Original Red from Elysian, you are benefiting the 3 local Fisher Houses. We appreciate you doing that. The other category are the 10 most influential websites of all time. Yeah, from the beginning of the Internet, these websites have done more for you and the world of the Internet than any other. So that's coming up with your guesses as good as mine. You know what? I'm going to tell you right now, it's not on the list.
There's got to be a porn site on there. I firmly believe that.
Okay, what porn site would you think, even in our mind, is bigger than what Pornhub is now? Because I can't think of one. I can't think of a more mainstream Amazon.com kind of a place to go look for what I'm looking for. Right, that's what I'm saying. Like I can't.
Pornhub's like the standard answer, but is it that well used?
I think it's that well used because the thing about Pornhub is, depending what you're. I mean, Miles hit it. Basically, it's the Amazon of porn. Assuming you're into legal porn. They have that there, but then once you click on whatever thumbnail, it takes you to a different site. It's an aggregate of all things. So you might click on whatever it is you're into, but the site
those are partners, Steve.
Yes, partners.
Those are partners.
They're not
Let's get the terminology correct.
But see, Pornhub's how you cover your tracks, right? Because it's just Pornhub. But the truth is, no one looks at Pornhub because once you click, you're not really on Pornhub anymore.
I can't think of a more universal site than that.
For that reason.
So,
it's the United Nations of porn.
So we got 10 beers Americans aren't drinking anymore. We've got the 10 most influential websites of all time. The return of Ask the Men's Room is coming up, and today is the day we do our random question. 844-999-OLA.
Hello, Corey. Welcome to the Men's Room.
Hola, bitch, hola.
Hola. How you doing?
Doing pretty good.
Good,
you guys
good.
Doing all right?
Yeah, we're doing good, man. Working hard in here.
Working 9 to 5.
Okay, here's your question. Did you win or lose the bet? What was it? And who had to pay up?
Oh, man. The last bet I can think of was on World Series a couple years back. With the one when the Phillies were in it, I think.
Okay.
And I lost. And it was just dinner.
That's not bad.
But it was with a hot girl, so I still won.
Yeah, how do you lose that bet? I mean, I hear, especially...
Well, I had to buy dinner, but I was with a hot girl, so I lost and I won.
Exactly. Like, you would want to buy her dinner. It's like when people bet certain sex things.
I was going to say, am I the only one who does that?
Like, I think it's brilliant because, like, look, win or lose, I don't mind paying up and I don't mind receiving. Like, sure, let's bet on that.
But look, that's when it gets to, like, you've been arguing about something for, like, 2 to 3 minutes.
Sure.
And now it gets to the point where, all right, now we're going to lay it down. Mm-hmm. All right, you really think that? All right, then, you know what the bet is. The standard bet, the bet we always have.
3-fingered Willie.
You know what I'm talking about. You want to go to that route? You really want to go there? You do, it's on. You know what I mean? Then
absolutely.
Then I lose.
And it doesn't matter.
Where did you end up going to dinner?
A German place over here in the university district.
Yeah. Did it become Dutch and German?
Tube.
All right, that's not a bad spot.
Yeah.
That isn't. Okay, well, here's why we asked.
Wait, did she pick that place or did you?
It was just kind of in the neighborhood for both of us.
Okay.
And neither of us had been there, so we wanted to try it.
Did you get lucky as a result of taking her there?
Not that night.
Okay. But eventually it did happen. All right, good for
eventually.
you, man. Yeah.
All right. You guys have heard of the fantasy football bets that certain people on their leagues have, whether it's someone has to get a tattoo of their choice. No, it's actually not a tattoo of their choice. At the beginning of the year, they show you what the tattoo is going to be, and it's kind of relative to pop culture at the time.
Sure.
So whatever is
Taylor Swift.
Yeah, whatever the deal is, it's something like that. But a guy in Wilmington, North Carolina, named Justin Polacek came in last in his fantasy football league this year, and they have a different kind of bet. And this is one of the best punishments that a lot of us have ever seen because there's a built-in escape hatch. But the escape hatch is even worse than the actual punishment. So for coming in last, he had to spend 24 hours at a Waffle House without leaving.
If they would let me, I think I could do that.
But he could shave off 20 minutes for every waffle that he ate.
All right.
Okay.
Now, theoretically, that means he could have spent the first 12 hours pounding 36 waffles and gone home. They're waffles, by the way, roughly the size of a dinner plate.
So they are, but they're thin.
Yeah, so that's a tall task. A speed eater named Pat Bertoletti set the world record in 2007 by eating 29 of their waffles in 10 minutes.
Jeez.
Obviously, this guy, Justin, is not a speed eater. He's a normal guy. But he did manage to eat 7 waffles.
Okay.
Is he allowed to nap?
He shaved off 2.5 hours, basically, meaning he had to spend 21 hours and 40 minutes there before he finally got home. He started at 7 o'clock, and he ended up leaving at 4:30, and he stayed up the entire time.
All right.
That's pretty impressive.
That's not bad.
I think
That's
if you
not the
fall
worst
asleep
bet.
in an establishment, they'll kick you out.
I would rather do that than have to get a tattoo. I think betting a tattoo is a really bad idea.
Wonder what you see in a Waffle House over 24 hours.
I would think everything, man. I would say 2 fights, 3 vagrants, and at least 1 screaming match that was not a physical fight. That's my guess.
I think it's funny you'll just see the time kind of go in and out, right? So you'll see the drunk people come in late at night.
Sure,
do this
absolutely.
And that. But I would think by like 7 or 8 in the morning, you also just see families coming in.
I think you get the families in the morning. I really think that the witching hour is not when the drunk people come in. I feel like it's between about 11 p.m. and 1 a.m. is your best bet for a fight. Because somehow these people aren't quite drunk, but they're already spirited, if you know what I mean. Because when drunk people come in, they're not really fighting. They're just drunk. They're loud. They're stupid. A couple people throw up. They fall asleep in the bathroom, but generally not a lot of fights. But I feel like when I hear about the Waffle House fights, it's about 11:30 at night. Something goes down. Hello, John. Welcome to the men's room.
Hola, bitch, hola.
Hola.
John, welcome to the program, the random question. We're just going to get this one out of the way because it needs to be addressed. What would you say, John, is the biggest mistake that you have ever made at work? The biggest error? When did you just mess up?
Oh, gosh. Long time ago, about 10, 12 years ago, I brought some weed milk to work and put it in my locker and got caught.
Weed milk?
Yeah, I had a couple roommates that convinced me to kind of take some, fine tea, flour type stuff and boil it down and strain it out, put it in my coffee sort of thing, and then I brought it to work, put it in my coffee, and they went through my locker and found it and kaput.
Why did they go through your locker? Did someone tip them off that you have this or what?
I never found out.
Oh, somebody tipped somebody off about that. Did you make it?
I mean, it had to have been. That's the only way. But I was pretty much cool with everybody there. So,
What kind of job was it?
I was security.
All right. How was your record?
It was good. I mean, I hadn't had any. I was rarely late. I hadn't had any previous, notices or write-ups or anything.
Sure. Okay. All right.
I was advancing pretty well until that happened.
Yeah. And you said you lost your job as a result.
I did, yes.
That's crazy.
They brought me down to the main office and pretty much they told me off and said what was up.
Yeah.
So
I think one of the bigger mistakes I ever made at work was when I didn't check the Burger King schedule after they changed it. It didn't tell me about it, then fired me because I didn't know the schedule had been changed when no one called me to let me know.
I mean, I've made a lot
That
of
was
mistakes.
a horrible mistake in my world.
I mean, radio, it's been worse just because of the magnitude of what you do, like dropping an F-bomb to 18 affiliates at once. Turns out, not particularly.
That was just last week.
When they're not paying you to be on the air. It was a bad situation. But as far as my cooking days goes, man, me and he was my roommate. We also worked together. And we would generally cover shifts together, and it was a pizza joint, all right? So the chef, if you want to call him that, at that point says, look.
Mr. Uno?
Just make, it's like a 5-gallon dough bucket, whatever. Basically made 5 gallons of dough, no big deal. You put it in a bucket, you cover it with plastic, and it's supposed to proof overnight, right? So we go out drinking, we do what we always do. It's about 7:30 the next morning, the phone's ringing, and it's like, who the hell is calling? Because we work in the afternoon. So we pick it up. And the dude's on the line, and he had a bit of a southern accent, kind of a deep voice, talked slow, and said, your boys make the dough last night? We said, we sure did, man. It's in the walk-in. He goes, I goddamn know it's in the walk-in. He's like, you didn't cover it tight enough. It's the blob. Everything in the walk-in is covered with dough. I said, no. He's like, you need to bring your ass in here. He's like, we're not even cleaning it until you can see it. He's like, I need you to understand the magnitude. And we're like, man. So we get dressed, we go down, but we're thinking, like, it can't be that bad. He's just being an ass. You know what I mean? It's early. He knows we're hungover. We get in. He was not exaggerating. So I don't know if we put too much yeast in or what the deal was, but it's supposed to proof a little. It had blown the plastic wrap off of the top, right? So in the walk-in, it's all those, like, metal grated shelves.
Yeah. So it's between all the grades.
Dude, it blew through all of them, and it climbs up everything. So there's milk in this corner. Well, it attaches to the milk, and it has now absorbed it into its doughiness, and it gets all the way up basically to the exhaust fan. And the only reason it's not an exhaust fan is because the exhaust fan is choppy. It had grown through everything. And we had to spend basically the entire day. Because we had to get rid of the dough, but there was nothing wrong with the food that it attacked. But he's like, you need to wash the dough off the butter. You need to wash the dough off you need to wash the dough off the tomatoes. It took over everything. But lesson learned. And we never did that again.
Nope.
Dude, I was DJing that same guy we used to work with, right? Mm-hmm. I get real excited.
The shrimp eater? Yeah.
Had to poop a lot. I shouldn't say that. He had something wrong with him.
He had Crohn's disease.
Yeah,
man.
all right.
Oh, he did? I didn't know that about him.
He was always pooping. Man, do you know why I poop? Swear to God, do you know why I poop so much? I was like, Chip, I never thought about it. I didn't realize you were pooping, dude. I just, no. Why? I got Crohn's disease. I'm like, okay, I've never said anything about your poop, and honest to God, man, I didn't know. But please, continue.
Right. So I would do, like, DJ gigs with him. So one we did, finally, he's like, all right, we're going to Ocean City. We're doing a prom. I'm like, all right, I'm in. It's like extra money. Plus, we get a night at the beach, right?
Yeah, sure.
So the night we stay at the beach, I buy a 30-pack. I think his wife had like one beer or whatever. He had like 3 and was done. And I'm like angry, right? Like, are you going to sleep after 3 beers?
Right.
Like, come on, man. So I stay up, rifle a bunch of beers, blah, blah, blah. The next day we go, we set up everything. And it's like, Ocean City's not the biggest town. So it's in like their convention center or whatever. So we test the music. Everything's good to go. I'm a little hungover. So I said, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to go home, take a nap. We'll come back. And he's like, all right. So we go take a nap. We wake up. The phone is ringing off the hook. It's the people from the convention center. And they're like, you better get down here. We got a situation. So we get down there. Fire department's there. Imagine the biggest room you can imagine, and it is full of fog. Oh. Turns out you load up a fog machine and just turn it on, and nobody's there to watch it.
Oh, no.
It will fill a whole space, Miles.
I bet.
And the fire department shows up, and I mean, there's like a kid, like an 18-year-old kid crying because the fire department's like, I don't know if we can have the prom.
Oh, no.
Right? It's like, they're looking at me, and I'm like, oh, crap.
Oh, no.
How big of a deal? And there's like an 18-year-old dude just crying, like, I'm supposed to take.
This is a high school prom,
man. Right?
He rented a Christian Dior tux for crying out loud.
Yeah. Don't worry, folks.
Wow.
We cleared the fog.
Yeah, how do you resolve that? The fire department shows up, and now they call the DJ. But even the DJ, like, you know who I'd call? The fire frickin' department. Like, what did you do? Take a notebook and try to fan it out?
Basically, yeah. We walked around and opened every door we could.
All
right. There was nothing bad, but it was so much fog and steam in there that all the alarms had gone off.
Boy.
The firemen honestly just looked more pissed than anything.
Yeah. Yeah, I bet they were.
Yeah.
Wow, man.
Reason no, we asked the biggest mistake you make at work. You know what happened in Hawaii? Well, the Hawaii worker who pushed the button has been reassigned after the missile alert.
Really?
The Hawaii Emergency
Not
Management
fired.
employee has been reassigned, and the state agency he works for has received death threats amid fallout from the botched ballistic missile alert that triggered panic across the island. The 10-year employee has been temporarily reassigned, pending an investigation into the incident to a job that, quote, does not provide access to the warning system. The agency created to protect the lives of Hawaiians must also deal with death threats as well, as they've been getting them all the time. People are just pretty fired up about this whole thing.
Right, so the response to thinking you're going to potentially die in nuclear annihilation is to then threaten death upon the people. Keep in mind, it's one person, but threaten death of everyone that works at this place because an idiot hit a button.
Look, you listen to this show, okay?
Obviously, you value life.
You listen to this show. You listen to the opinions that we have coming out of our mouths. Do you realize we have one of these machines over here? Now, we can't send out any kind of warning. The warnings come to us, but it's our job. It's the same
But
damn
if we
machine
went on the air and said, hey,
to say,
man, there's a nuclear missile
we
strike.
have to. If that comes out over the thing.
Right, we have to say that.
We have to tell you what the hell's going on, whether it's a frickin' lahar, whether it's a tornado, whether it's a hurricane. I mean, the only time that they didn't sound the damn thing off was in 9/11. We don't know why, but they didn't. But we're supposed to fire the thing off.
I think that's different than living in Hawaii. You have had months of another country saying, hey, we can nuke you if we want.
All right.
And then that guy fires off the button like
any other time.
I absolutely get, and there's a reason why. Look, if this was 7 years ago, 10 years ago, that thing would have gone off and it would be like a car alarm in your neighborhood. Like maybe it's something, but generally I just want the sound to go away. I'm not going to check and I don't care. Obviously in the last year, there's reason to potentially believe like, hey man, it's absolutely something you believe, right? I mean, you get it, and we all understand why, but, like, I think the worst thing about this, as I understand the story, it was, so the thing gets set off, and it did not take authorities long to realize that this was a false alarm, but the authorities then did not immediately disseminate that information to the public. So the authorities knew for quite a while, we hit the wrong alarm, but instead of telling people that, who, believe it or not, are now kind of glued to the radio, they were going to happen there, they didn't bother to tell anybody.
Obviously, yeah.
It just seems like that is the button not to hit.
But why would you put that button anywhere that you might accidentally hit it, right? Because that button, like that's the big freaking button. That is the major button. Even if there's like an eject button in a plane, it's not like anywhere that your hands normally go. It's like,
that's what he did.
In a spot.
He hit the live alert button by mistake.
Oops.
And basically, changes are already underway. Alerts will now require activation and verification by 2 people. And a cancellation command has been written and can be issued within seconds of the error as well. So there are a couple things there that they put in place. My point on this is that, and they haven't named the employee.
They're not going to.
And you know damn well that
he'll be on 2020 in a year.
This guy, he's a 10-year employee. He did not think that this would be a funny thing to do. This was not a prank. This was an honest-to-God mistake. But you have to realize how horrible this guy has to feel. Because the president said he effed up.
Right.
The director of the FCC says he effed up.
Well, he did.
The governor issued an apology.
You hit the one button, you don't freaking...
Right.
The one...
That's it.
But that's Eve eating the apple.
But like,
just don't do this one thing.
But the difference is, like, when you're done with your job, the president can come out and say, like, by the way, don't eat the pizza at Pizzeria Uno today.
Right.
Because we don't know if it's edible. Like, this is such a... Okay, the guy lives in Hawaii. Life can't be too bad. But at the same point in time, I mean, I bet he just feels... awful when he sees video of people putting their kids in manholes.
Yeah.
When he sees people crying. Like, all this
and by
stuff.
the way,
like,
no.
I mean,
not putting their kid in a manhole. The one dude just knocked his daughter in there. And we understand why, because in his mind, hey, kid, we don't have time for this S. A little girl doesn't want to get in. He kind of takes and she just drops in. Right? So now dad has done nothing except actually kick his daughter, who then fell into a manhole. Now, if there's a nuclear attack, he feels very good about what he did. Like, hey, man, it's not the move you want to make. That's a survival. I'm protecting her. So I kicked her, and she fell in a manhole. Well, then they tell you, and your daughter's crying, and you have to console her. And you say, baby, I want you to understand something. Daddy's protecting you with his life. That's why I did that. Then you get the false alarm. And you're like,
he's going to lie that he doesn't love 300.
Hey, baby, listen, here's the truth now. Now Daddy has just kicked you into a manhole, and I'm so sorry.
Now, those are people that live there. Now, you think about being a tourist. All right, when you're in Hawaii, it's the equivalent of having a threesome. It's not that it doesn't happen. It's not that it can't happen. It's just that it doesn't happen very often. You wake up on the beach in Hawaii. You know you're in a special place. This is once-in-a-lifetime deal. You get there Saturday morning, and the next thing you know, you got a nuclear warhead coming at you, and you've been on a plane for 10 hours to get to this place. Saturday's always your first day. They go Saturday to Saturday.
I'd be so pissed.
You wake up Saturday morning like, oh, my God. You know what I mean? I flew from frickin' Kansas for my vacation dream.
Yeah, but guess what?
And here I am.
Now they're in Hawaii.
Yeah. Random question. 844-999-OLA. More of your calls on the way. You are listening to the Men's Room Radio Network.
Hola, bitches. You're listening to the Men's Room.
Still to come, your guess is as good as mine in categories, websites, and beer. We'll do your guess is as good as mine right after emails to the men's room at mensroomlive.com. It is our random question, 844-999-OLA. A few comments already rolling in?
Yeah, well, we were talking about the situation that went on in Hawaii. What was it, Saturday morning? They get this warning that a nuclear strike is imminent. They find out a little bit later, hey, our bad, we pressed the wrong button. And everyone's trying to figure out how the hell do you hit the wrong button. So a couple of texts came in, and it says the command was a drop-down menu with the test and the actual alert on the same tab. Someone else says, according to my sources, on the control board, the missile warning button is right next to the test warning button. So whether it's a menu or an actual button, maybe you shouldn't have test and actual.
That close.
Maybe they should even be on different tabs, wouldn't you think?
Because we have to test our transmission of the emergency broadcast system once a week and once a month as well.
Yeah. It's
so even in the small-time world we're living in, we have to send that out just to make sure in the event that something like this were to happen.
But test.
And they send that alert to us that we would be able to send a real alert out. But most of the time they say this is a test, the emergency broadcast
You
system.
hear it all the time.
In the event of an actual emergency, we hope we didn't hit the wrong button.
Because who knows? You know, one thing about that, though, is I want you to think about what happened in Hawaii, okay? So one of the things that people do, and we always say, if you're lucky enough to have your come-to-God moment, right? Like if you have a deathbed, then maybe you bring your kids in and tell them stuff they didn't otherwise know because you know your death is imminent. And I think this is true of all people. So I'm just thinking, you're in Hawaii. How many, and these are the untold stories, but how many times, what percentage of people, when they hear, you know, hey, man, a nuclear strike is imminent, I don't know, you're there partying with your buddies, or it's like a couples retreat, and finally you say, dude, I haven't having sex with your wife for the last 18 years. I feel bad about it. I want you to know that. And then, an hour later you find out, yeah, our bad, dude.
I'm going to take off all my clothes.
Now, I want you to think about the situation where some dude's like, hey, man, when we were having that bro down moment, we thought we were going to die. I'm pretty sure you said something to the effect of, you've been effing Matilda over here for the last 15 years. Like, how awkward is that? Because it had to happen. Or some guy finally says, listen, kids, I want you to know this. I'm not your real father. Your mother was effing around. She never wanted you to know. Well, now they know all of these things you didn't need to know.
I think I would.
Because the guy hit the wrong. But I'd be
would,
on heroin.
I would take all my clothes off, run to the beach, and just start masturbating vigorously.
Right.
Be like, I've always wanted to do this.
And then you find out, Miles, hey, man, it was
put your clothes on.
You got to put them on, dude.
Oh, come on.
You got to put them on. I mean, how many people did that?
I just always think of the guy in Almost Famous.
We were talking about that
exactly.
I'm gay. And the plane levels out.
Instantly. I mean, how many of those moments came up, man?
Oh, boy. If you're on hold there, by the way, for the random question, you've just been dropped, so try again. 844-999-OLA. Anybody want to give one a shot?
Sure.
Who wants to try it? I'll customize the question just for you.
I mean, I'm in. I like random stuff.
Okay.
Random stuff.
Random stuff. Random S. What'd you get into? Random S.
Okay.
Literally, random S.
I'm looking for a good one. Oh, here we go. I think this is something that you can answer. More so than anyone else in here.
I don't know if that makes me feel good or bad.
I think it should make you feel good.
I think it should make you feel nervous.
Have you ever dated?
Yeah, right?
Have you ever dated someone with a fetish?
Yeah.
See, I don't think I have.
Come on.
Not that they've shared with me that I can remember. I mean,
think
I think
you'd
things
remember.
that they like a lot, but anything that was
how much did they like it?
From the ordinary? Well, I mean,
it's not. Well, listen, if there's a specific thing that you like, just because it's a fetish doesn't mean it's weird. But if you like it that much, where it's kind of insisted to, hey, when we do that, like at that point, it's a fetish. That's your fetish.
I don't know if it even counts as a fetish. She was just a biter. She was a biter.
Well, then that's kind of, like I said, it's not the most extreme or weirdest. But if that's what was going to happen pretty much every time, then
I'm just not a biter. And frankly, sometimes
it hurts.
It hurts. You'd be like, this is killing the. Like, whereas she was very much enjoying it. You bite me aggressively and hard during sex, like all of a sudden I'm like, damn.
So you were biting.
Did you have to bite her? She liked you biting her?
I had to bite her,
all right.
which was very nerve wracking.
Well,
as an adult, you generally don't bite another human.
Like
so
you don't
sure.
puncture the skin, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Did you kind of get a muscle memory to know specifically how hard to bite?
No,
you got to do a few tests, like
It's like when you're playing with a cat.
Sure,
The cat's got that knowledge of like, I know how far I can put my claws into you and my teeth most of the time, but I'm not going to go all the way with it.
Yeah, or like a dog when you're kind of messing with his teeth.
Right.
The problem was, she just bit me a lot harder.
Are you sure she bit you harder, or you're just more sick? Because if you don't enjoy it, it seems worse, right? Like, she liked it. You could have been damn near gnawing her like a pit bull, but if she enjoys it, she's like, that's great. You could have been a chihuahua bite, but if you don't want to be bitten by the chihuahua.
The main thing is, I would just forget, and then once in a while, she'd get caught up in the moment and bite me. But then for me and my little soldiers, this wasn't the best plan.
Sure. Where was she biting you?
Like there.
Okay.
Oh, and like really weird, like where places it would hurt to get a tattoo, I would think.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It was good because I knew I was doing stuff right if she got fired up and threw out a bite. But it was also bad because it would kind of kill the mood. I'm like,
Did you scream?
Stop biting me!
Did you ever?
Maybe that turned her
Did you
on.
ever not try as hard just to avoid the because like you said, if you're crushing it, you're also being attacked.
Correct.
So did you ever kind of say, man, I'm gonna go half in this time? No pun intended, but I'm gonna give it half my effort because I just don't feel like getting mauled.
No,
really?
Because I'm saying I would just forget, and then it would happen. That would be my reaction. Like, gee, don't. Like, this isn't doing it for me. This is painful.
Listen to the show anywhere. Previous episodes, you can order Men's Room Sausage, the Men's Room original red beer finder, and yes, you versus the FCC. If you download the Men's Room app, it's available now for your iPhone and Android phone. Get that Men's Room app on there. Listen anytime, anywhere.
Hola! The shenanigans continue on the Men's Room Radio Network.